From ESPN, I'm Sage Steele. We are thrilled to be here together, and we are thrilled to welcome all of you viewers joining us today. We'd also like to welcome our service members watching around the world on American Forces Network.
You know, this year marks the 150th anniversary of the Memorial Day holiday, our military's most sacred day, and we are honored, both of us, to be here with you. From the American Revolution to the current generation that has served in Iraq and Afghanistan, today's parade will include special tributes to the Americans who have served and sacrificed throughout our country's history. And to help us with today's coverage, Street Side is someone we all know and love, a great friend of ours and our troops, of course, Dean Cain. Hey, Dean.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. I am so honored to be here today at this most special parade. I'll be down here. This is my first year ever at this parade, and I'll be down here on the street. I'll be giving you coverage from the route and speaking with some very, very special guests throughout the show. So until then, it's back to you guys. Thanks, Kira. Thanks, Sage.
All right, thanks, Dean. And now it's time to have a parade.
It is time. I'm a rookie as well. I mean,
we're all rookies.
So I don't know.
Hold on to your seats, everybody.
Exactly.
But we do have someone here who's not a rookie.
Yes, a friend, a longtime supporter of our veterans and the National Memorial Day Parade. He is a veteran. Welcome, Gary Sinise. How are you?
Thank you for having me back.
So this year, I understand your 12th year at the parade. You've been hosting the National Memorial Day concert even longer, right? And, I mean, you keep coming back. I think it's pretty easy, the answer. We know why. But bring it home for us.
I wouldn't miss this weekend. Since I've been doing this, the only time I missed was last year because my daughter had a baby this weekend. So
what excuse?
My granddaughter is 1 year old now, and
is the granddaughter here?
No. They all stayed at home in California, and they're having a big party.
Are they watching the show?
Watching.
I hope they are.
And what's your granddaughter's name?
Moira.
Moira.
Yeah, she's named after my wife.
Oh,
beautiful.
Hi, Moira.
Thank you. But I wouldn't miss it. This is something very special. I started doing the National Memorial Day concert in 2005, and I got hooked. It was my buddy Joe Montaigne was doing it a few years before, and he invited me to come. So I did. I brought my band, and we played, and then they asked me to come back and co-host, and I've been doing that ever since. And then the parade, and I stay the next day and participate in this wonderful parade.
And we have to talk about the Gary Sinise Foundation.
Yeah.
We do?
Yes, we
yes.
do. Yes, we do.
You mean I have to talk about it?
Yes.
Oh, good.
This is your platform. This is your forum. It's the perfect time. I mean, we're all familiar with the foundation, and especially everybody here. I can honestly, and you're incredible with our vets and with our military. But tell us more about the foundation and why you saw a need.
Well, I've been involved with supporting veterans for many years. I have a lot of veterans in my family, so it starts there. And then, you know, after I played Lieutenant Dan in Forrest Gump, I started working with our wounded and supporting our wounded. I played the wounded soldier in that, and then September 11th kind of drove me to this new level of action that all sort of manifested itself into the eventual creation of my own military support foundation, which is the Gary Sinise Foundation. We have a float in the parade this year, and I'll be on the float, and with me on that float will be a bunch of Gold Star children that are part of our program called Snowball Express. Snowball was its own 501c3 until this year, and we folded it into the Gary Sinise Foundation as a program. We serve the needs and honor these children who've lost a parent in service to our country. And this year we're raising some additional money because we're going to take 1,500 of these Gold Star kids to Disney World in December, right before Christmas time. So
Gary.
Wow.
We're doing a lot of cool stuff at the Gary Sinise Foundation.
Wonderful. So you're here with us all day long. Get on that float. Behave on the float, okay?
I will behave. The kids will have to contain me a little bit.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Gary, as you know, among the oldest of military traditions in a full honor funeral is that of the riderless horse. The horse is led behind the caisson wearing an empty saddle with the rider's boots reversed in the stirrups, indicating the warrior that will never ride again.
Yes, the riderless horse leads the parade annually, every year, a reminder of the true meaning of Memorial Day, honoring our fallen heroes. Next up, is the Ceremonial Honor Guard, consisting of marching platoons from each branch of the armed forces. These platoons are under the order of Joint Force Headquarters, National Capital Region, Military District of Washington.
And leading the platoons today is the U.S. Army Band, Pershing's Own. It's the premier band of the nation's senior service.
Hello, I'm Colonel Jason Garkey, commander of the 3rd United States Infantry Regiment, the Old Guard. On behalf of all of the men and women in the U.S. Army and the entire Joint Force serving in the National Capital Region, I'd like to welcome everyone to Washington, D.C. and this year's National Memorial Day Parade. Every Memorial Day is marked with solemn remembrance. Memorial Day is an opportunity to remember and honor all American service members, ordinary men and women performing their duty, who died while in military service, and to reflect on what their sacrifice means to us, to our country, and to a world that still depends so much on America for leadership and security. We vow that their sacrifices shall never be forgotten. And for those of us who continue to serve, we will honor these heroes' legacies by maintaining the eternal vigilance that has kept our country free since the birth of our nation. We are proud to represent our nation's military in today's parade and ask that on this special day, you remember all of our soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and Coast Guardsmen serving around the world.
And here is the Army's famed Old Guard Fife and Drum Corps from the 3rd United States Infantry Regiment. They are appearing in uniforms patterned after those worn by musicians in General George Washington's Continental Army. Wow.
18th century battlefield musicians wore the reverse colors of their unit, which explains the bright red coats with blue trim.
The detail that goes into these uniforms, to me, is spectacular. Obviously, George Washington's Continental Army replicating that, but boy, did they hit the nail on the head with that, Kira.
I feel like we've gone back in time.
Certainly. Gosh. I think another thing people don't realize is the amount of work, the amount of practice that goes in, and these people are volunteering to do so. We are honored now to introduce the Grand Marshals of the Parade. Hello, Anthony Sadler, Alex Skarlatos, and Spencer Stone. On August 21st, 2015, as the 3 Americans were traveling across Europe while Alec and Spencer were on leave from the U.S. military, they subdued a would-be terrorist on a train from Amsterdam to Paris.
The 3 young heroes were met with worldwide acclaim. They're being met with a lot of acclaim here as well. The French government's highest decoration is what they earned, were awarded rather, the Legion of Honor. Earlier this year, they portrayed themselves in Clint Eastwood's latest film, The 15 to 17 to Paris, and we are proud to be joined by these young American heroes that are leading the parade.
And we welcome you back to the National Memorial Day Parade here, downtown Washington, D.C., our nation's capital on Constitution Avenue.
You can feel the energy here. I mean, just the music and everybody that's involved. It's such an honor to be here. Now let's head down to Dean, who is standing by in the National Gallery of, are we going to head down to the National Gallery at the Art Sculpture Garden?
All right, thank you, Kira. I am here today with the Grand Marshals of today's parade, Anthony Sadler, Alex Skarlatos, and Spencer Stone. Very, very famous young men. Spencer, listen, you served with the U.S. Air Force. So what does it mean for you to be recognized as the faces of a new generation of American heroes? You!
Yeah, it means a lot. It's, I know me, Anthony, and Alec, we don't view ourselves kind of in that light, I guess. So it's always really humbling when we get opportunities like this to come here and really show our respects for the men and women that have given their lives.
Well said. You know, you guys are like most heroes. You're all very humble, and that's very appreciated. Alec, as an Army National Guard veteran who served in Afghanistan, what would you like to say today to those families who have lost a loved one in service?
Well, I mean, they've given the ultimate sacrifice for our country, and I know I, for one, am extremely grateful for it. I know the rest of the country is grateful for it. It's probably the hardest thing you can do is lose a loved one, and I would just like to say that we appreciate them.
This is the day for it. Anthony, now I'm sure everybody wants to know this. What's it like? I really want to know this. What is it like being a first-time actor being directed by Clint Eastwood? And plus, I want to do that. I still haven't done that.
Yeah, it was just a huge experience that we're just pretty thankful for, because we realize that these things don't happen even for people who professional actors who've done it all their lives. They hold it in regard to work with Mr. Eastwood, so the fact that he took a chance on us and wanted us to give it a try, we're just thankful, and it was an experience we'll remember forever.
Look, 3 great friends, childhood friends, put in extraordinary circumstances, and you guys are true American heroes. God bless you guys. Back to you, Karen Sage.
All right, thanks so much, Dean. And now we are honored to introduce honorary grand marshals of the parade, the veterans of World War II, as we mark the continued 75th anniversary of the war.
And they are here in honor of all their comrades who served and sacrificed to win World War II. They've got the wave down, Joe Montana. They've got the wave down. Most importantly, they watched the royal wedding last week, maybe.
And you know, Joe Montana has been a part of this parade for years. He's a huge supporter. They're participating. And we're going to head back down to Dean. And the participation was made possible because of the Gary Sinise Foundation.
Thank you. I am here with a veteran of the 101st Airborne in World War II who served with the famed Band of Brothers, the amazing Colonel Ed Shames, and he is joined by our great friend, Tony Award-winning actor Joe Montana, currently seen in his starring role in Criminal Minds. Colonel Shames, sir, what do you want Americans to remember about the World War II generation?
The World War II generation is no different from any other generation. They're just different kind of people, different era, and we don't want anything except we want peace.
Very simply and perfectly said, sir. Appreciate that. Joe, got a quick question for you. You've called Memorial Day our most important holiday. I happen to agree with you. Tell us more about that.
It's our most important holiday because it's the holiday that has allowed us to have every other holiday we have in this country. So without their respect and for the men and women who've made the ultimate sacrifice, we have no reason to celebrate anything else during the course of a year. So it's men like the Colonel here and that allow us to make this the best holiday we have.
We lost 40% of our people on the first night of the drop just prior to D-Day. So we have a lot of thinking to do about the people that we did lose, and I think about them constantly.
Well, thank you so much, sir. Such an honor to meet you, Joe. Thank you very much. Back to you, Sage and Karen.
All right, thank you, Dean. The Gary Sinise Foundation's newest program, Snowball Express, serves children of our fallen, featuring actor and philanthropist Gary Sinise. You just saw him with us here live, talking with us. He got on that float quickly. It's the official airline partner, American Airlines, by the way, helped with Snowball Express, dedicating to serving the families of our fallen military heroes who have made the ultimate sacrifice since September 11th, 2001.
And you heard Gary talk about this a little bit ago with us, but on the float, several Gold Star children and surviving spouses. And look, you can see how much this means to him. Walking with the float are volunteers and staff from the Gary Sinise Foundation and volunteers from American Airlines. Remember, the Gary Sinise Foundation supports our veterans, active duty, first responders, and their families. This foundation is priceless. We'll be right back for more coverage of the National Memorial Day Parade right after this.
Hey, what's up, guys? Channing Tatum here. Look, for all the active service members and veterans out there, thank you for everything you have done, and thank you for everything you are doing. And just know, for all the families that support those service members, you're not forgotten, and you do just as much. And just thank you. We're so grateful for everything that you do.
Hey, hello to the troops out there. This is Ray Romano. I just want to say thank you, and we appreciate everything you do. I have my father was a war vet. My brother was a New York City police officer. I have nothing but great respect for men and women who protect and serve our country and the people in it.
Hey, it's Kid Rock here. Just want to say a happy Memorial Day. And once again, thank you for your service. Thank you for all you do. God bless you. Stay safe. And know that most of us are in your corner. Have a great Memorial Day.
Hey, I'm Reba McEntire. To all our veterans and our currently active military folks, happy Memorial Day. Thank you so much for all you do for us. We love you with all our heart, soul, mind, and strength.
Coming up, the parade begins a moving timeline of American military history. And later, performances from Trace Adkins, Cassidy Daniels, and Jared Neiman, plus Miss America.
I'm Jim Roberts, president of the American Veterans Center, sponsor of the annual National Memorial Day Parade held here in our nation's capital. I invite all of you watching to become full participants as we honor those who have laid down their lives in defense of our country, from Valley Forge to Operation Enduring Freedom in Afghanistan, and more to honor our veterans and those who serve in uniform. I hope you will take a few moments to honor those who, in Lincoln's words, died so our nation might live. Thanks for watching, and have a wonderful Memorial Day.
And welcome back to Constitution Avenue and the American Veterans Center's National Memorial Day Parade. You can visit the American Veterans Center, by the way, on Facebook and Twitter to stay up to date throughout the year.
Yes, now today's parade is organized as a moving timeline of American military history, honoring fallen heroes from our beginnings all the way through the current generation that has served in Iraq and Afghanistan. Let's head back now to Constitution Avenue. Here comes the Oshkosh Defense Joint Light Tactical Vehicle, or JLTV for short. The JLTV provides the U.S. Army and Marine Corps with the best combination of protection and extreme mobility, able to get warfighters to and through the fight faster than any other light tactical vehicle. And we are honored to introduce our next float, featuring family members who have lost loved ones who served in the armed forces and are participating in the TAPS 24th Annual National Military Survivor Seminar right here in Washington, D.C., Karen.
Special place in my heart.
Yes.
For full transparency, I'm on the board of the Tragedy Assistance Program for Survivors, and we provide hope and help and healing to all of those grieving the death of a service member. The families you see out there walking in the parade represent the 75,000 members that we have in the TAPS family, and that keeps growing. And they're honoring their heroes by carrying their photos with them as they walk the parade route. There's moms and dads lost overseas. And joining the TAPS families, you can see there, that is Chef Robert Irvine, side by side with Bonnie Carroll, who created TAPS. And besides being the star of several hit shows on Food Network, he is a veteran of the British Royal Navy and a tireless supporter of our military families and first responders. And Sage, let me tell you, as they come by, I got to get a wave out there to them. So Bob Irvine is just incredible. He actually started cooking on a ship at the age of 15. And now look at him, and there he is. He's waving to us now. There he is.
Right over there.
Yes, thank you, Robert and Bonnie. Yes, we love you. And there's all our kids.
Amazing.
Yep, and it's beautiful. I mean, they've lost moms and dads to combat and also died by suicide. It's tough to hear the stories, but they are healing.
Native Americans have served in the U.S. military in every major conflict for more than 200 years. Per capita, they serve at a higher rate than any other ethnic group.
Native Nations Dance Theater is who we're talking about now. Philadelphia's only indigenous professional touring dance company that was developed for the purpose of educating everyone about the existence of Native American artists in their community.
And wow, do they look beautiful today. Native Nations Dance Theater performers present interactive educational projections for stages, museums, schools, colleges, organizations, and government entities.
And now the Dalhart Golden Wolf Band from the great state of Texas is a consistent award-winning band program. More than half of the student population participates in the music program.
Really?
I want my kids going there.
I tried. Mine said no. Maybe I can get some assistance from them. They're great. And now we begin the moving timeline of our parade as we salute the heroes of the American Revolution.
Generation after generation of Americans have been inspired by the story of George Washington's leadership through the War for Independence for more than 230 years.
The Fifes and Drums of Yorktown, formed by the County of York for this 1976 American Bicentennial Celebration.
You know, a typical performance season consists of approximately 100 shows at various historic venues along the eastern seaboard. Wow. Members, as you can see, are dressed in period attire.
And next is a large replica of the original American flag. You ready for this? That Betsy Ross was said to have created in Philadelphia during the Revolutionary War. It's being carried by Brooklyn College Veteran Students Organization from the City University of New York.
Wow. And legend has it that several members from the Continental Congress, including George Washington, asked Betsy Ross to sew the first American flag back in 1776. The Commander-in-Chief of the Continental Army and our first president, General Washington, traveled 16 miles from his home at Mount Vernon, which is the most popular historic site in America, to be here today.
Should we shout? There's Mr. President. Mr.
Looks
President,
great.
During a visit to Mount Vernon, you will experience original artifacts, hands-on exhibits, and original movies, by the way, and his teeth. George Washington's teeth.
What?
My kids loved it. His teeth, his dentures, they are there.
Like the dentures.
They are there in the museum.
This scares me. Yeah, that'll get me there, Kara. All right, let's check in with Dean Payne back in the Sculpture Garden.
All right, thank you so much. I'm actually out here on the street, and with me right here, I pulled him off his float, is celebrity chef and UK Royal Navy veteran, Robert Irvine. Thank you so much for being here today, my friend.
It's a great pleasure to be here, Dean.
You got a couple of friends here with you. Who do we have?
It's Carly and Max. Say hi, guys.
Carly and Max. How are you guys doing today?
Good. We're doing good.
Yeah? Well, what does today mean for you guys? I mean, you guys are really pretty much the reason we're here and things we want to talk about. What does today mean for you today, Carly?
It means that I can celebrate my dad and just in here for his honor.
That's outstanding. Max, you got something to say to that, buddy?
It's to remember all the fallen soldiers that were working and helping and protect the
country, right?
The country, all of us. And I like your guys' glasses. Your glasses are fantastic, and we really appreciate that. All right, Robert, so can you tell me a little bit about your organization, please?
Well, Robert Irvine Foundation supports the USO Gary Sinise TAPS organization with lots of events around the country. We get to travel with the vice chairman, the chairman, do lots of stuff. I know we run out of time, but check out robertirvinefoundation.org or taps.org, garysinise.org. All great organizations.
You're a tremendous patriot. Thank you so much for what you do.
Run, now run.
Back to you guys.
Amen to that. I love it. Thanks, Dean. Well, our next float is sponsored by the Purple Heart Foundation. The Purple Heart is the oldest military decoration active in the United States today and is awarded to service members wounded or killed in service.
And the primary mission of the foundation is to serve the needs of our military veterans by providing assistance with traumatic brain injury, post-traumatic stress, and also suicide prevention. For more info or ways you can help, go to purpleheartfoundation.org.
And now founded on July 4th, 1876, the Sons of the American Revolution, one of the oldest patriotic organizations in the United States. Each of its members can trace his ancestry to one or more patriots of the American Revolution.
And with more than 34,000 members in 500 chapters around the world, the SAR's activities commemorate the people and events of the American Revolution and provide education on the principles on which the United States was founded. And while we honor those who have served, today we must remember really the true meaning of Memorial Day, paying tribute to those we've lost.
And throughout today's parade, we will spotlight the stories of several service members who lost their lives in service to our country in a series we call Saluting the Fallen.
My ex-husband was Staff Sergeant Nathaniel J. Nyron. He decided it's time for me to serve my country, so he enlisted. He fit in there so perfectly.
He was the fun-loving dad. We always had a good time running around outside, tackling each other. It was always just a great time with him.
In February of 2004, he was deployed to Iraq. In December of 2004, on December 28th, he was killed in a Humvee accident.
I was 8 years old when my father was killed. Memorial Day, it isn't about the pools opening up, it isn't about barbecues, it's about remembering our loved ones.
Every day is Memorial Day for us.
Coming up, the parade remembers the War of 1812 and the American Civil War.
And welcome back to our coverage from Washington, D.C.
Kara Phillips, Sage Steele. The parade continues as we remember the War of 1812.
After watching the Americans withstand the deadly British siege of Baltimore, Francis Scott Key was inspired to write the poem Defense of Fort McHenry. Today, it is better known as the Star-Spangled Banner.
The USS Constitution, America's ship of state, actively defended sea lanes against global threats from 1797 to 1855. The world's oldest commissioned warship afloat, Constitution embodies 220 years of maritime heritage and unwavering service staged to her country.
And joining today's parade is an honor guard of active duty sailors from the Constitution.
Now leading the Star-Spangled Banner down the parade route, General Andrew Jackson. Long before becoming president, General Jackson won a decisive victory at the Battle of New Orleans, driving the British from Louisiana.
He's selling it pretty well there.
He in Washington, they've got it down.
Yes, owning it. General Jackson accompanied by a 50-foot-long Star-Spangled Banner brought to you by Veterans United Home Loans. Just after dawn on September 14th, 1814, the attacking British saw the American flag still flying over Fort McHenry in Baltimore.
The sight of the flag signaled that their attack had failed and the Americans had won the battle.
The National Memorial Day Parade honors those who sacrificed in the Civil War. Brother fought brother in the bloodiest war in U.S. history, with more than 600,000 Americans, North and South, dying in battle.
Over the past 14 years, the Searcy High School Band has built a reputation as one of the most successful performing arts groups in the state of Arkansas and has consistently received superior ratings.
Welcome to the Civil War Division of the parade. I am Drum Major Victoria Brown.
And I am Drum Major Kevin Felton.
The Civil War was fought between 1861 and 1865 on American soil.
The war started shortly after President Abraham Lincoln was inaugurated. When the war ended, more than 600,000 Union and Confederate soldiers were killed in countless battles across our nation.
And the next part of the parade is arriving, the Civil War.
With malice toward none, with charity for all, let us strive on to finish the work we are in, to bind up the nation's wounds.
These words were so eloquently spoken by Abraham Lincoln during his second inaugural address and demonstrate his devotion toward healing our shattered nation.
Whitney Lester is appearing as President Lincoln, and his appearance is made possible by Military Times and Harmon's Carriages.
Now let's head back down to Dean Cain. Hi, Dean.
All right, I'm here with the President and CEO of the Coalition, David Walker, and veteran Jorge De Leon. Since 2004, the Coalition has supported our recent veterans, sir. What does that support look like?
That support looks like, since 2004, $45 million in direct emergency financial aid, which is a big deal. Men and women today even calling in and using words like repossess, foreclose, evict. We've provided that type of funding to over 30,000 combat wounded veterans.
Outstanding. All right, can you tell us a little bit about this guy here, Jorge De Leon, the veteran that you're...
Special guy to the Coalition. He was our third hire at the Coalition. He decided to pursue the American dream, to open his own company, Shooters Defense, a firearms training company, and we provided him $20,000 to get that project over the goal line. How do you like that?
That's pretty outstanding. I've met Jorge before. He's going to help me work on my shot. Jorge, now what does this gift from the Coalition mean to you, my friend?
It means a lot. You know, with this money, I can finish my shooting range. I can actually buy the rest of the equipment, maintenance, my employees, get them hired to do more stuff. So actually, this is going to put me right there in the spot. So this is the biggest step, the first step, but it's the biggest one.
That's awesome. I love the fact that it says $20,000 as well. I think we understand 20,000 in any language. All right, that's it. Thank you guys so much. Back to you, Sage and Kira.
Dean, thanks so much. Our next performer is a multi-platinum selling singer-songwriter who has written songs for artists including Garth Brooks.
Yeah, not bad. He has toured with Keith Urban also, and over the last 2 years has performed on USO tours around the world. He joins us today to perform his new single, I Got This. Please welcome Mr. Jared Neiman.
1, 2, 3, 4.
I got this cold white Russian in my hand. I got this turquoise sky and 0 plans. I got this car full of smoke and gasoline, letting my mind unwind in my own jet stream. I love someone like you to come along for the ride if you got nothing to do all the rest of the night. Girl, I got this, don't gotta think too hard. It's a can't miss, I know right where to start. Yeah, the only thing I'm needing is a girl to play the lead in this cool movie that I'm dreaming of right now. And if you're down with that, I got this. Yeah, I got this. I've got this red sombrero and some black and milds. I got this pile of vinyl records coming back in style. You put the happy in my hello, make my sun a brighter yellow. Just say hell no to that halo, girl. Let yourself just let go. 'Cause I got this, don't gotta think too hard. It's a can't miss, I know right where to start. Yeah, the only thing I'm needing is a girl to play the lead in this cool movie that I'm dreaming of right now. And if you're down with that,
And we got this, Sage.
I
We
love
got this
it.
parade. Stay tuned
for more of the National Memorial Day Parade from Constitution Avenue right here in Washington, D.C.
This is Conan O'Brien. I want to send this message out to all who have served, are currently serving, and most especially those of you who have lost a loved one in service to our country. I want you to know we're thinking about you on this Memorial Day. It has been my incredible honor to meet so many of you over the years. I've done a couple of USO shows, and they have been the personal highlight of my entire career. And I cannot thank you enough for your service and your sacrifice.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Jason Aldean, and I just want to give my thanks to the men and women of our armed forces and their families for your bravery, strength, and service.
Yo, what's up? This is Jack Black giving a big shout out to all the armed forces on this glorious Memorial Day. You guys give it all. You give it your all to protect this beautiful country that you love.
Coming up, the parade moves into the 20th century, and performances by country star Trace Atkins, plus Miss America 2018.
Welcome back. We'd like to thank the American Veterans Center for organizing today's parade, which is made possible through the very hard work of a small, private, nonprofit foundation, and it's 100% privately financed.
And if you want to learn more, just visit AmericanVeteranCenter.org. Now, a country music icon for more than 2 decades, our next performer has sold more than 11 million albums and won 3 Academy of Country Music Awards. He is also one of the music industry's great supporters of our troops, having been on 12 USO tours and serving as spokesman for the Wounded Warrior Project. Performing his song, Arlington, please welcome Trace Adkins.
I never thought that this is where I'd settle down. I thought I'd die an old man back in my hometown. They gave me this plot of land, me and some other men, for a job well done. There's a big white house, it's on a hill just up the road. The man inside, he cried the day they brought me home. They folded up a flag and told my mom and dad, we're proud of your son. And I'm proud to be on this peaceful piece of property. I'm on sacred ground and I'm in the best of company. And I'm thankful for those, thankful for the things I've done. And I can rest in peace. I'm one of the chosen ones. I made it to Arlington. And every time I hear 21 guns, I know they brought another hero home to us. And we're thankful for those, thankful for the things we've done. We can rest in peace, 'cause we are the chosen ones. We made it to Arlington. Yeah, dust to dust, don't cry for us, 'cause we made it to Arlington. been a privilege to be here. Thank you so much.
That unmistakable voice of Trace Adkins, my goodness.
And the lyrics. The National Memorial Day Parade honors those who served in the Great War, World War I.
More than 116,000 Americans died in service during the First World War, in what all hoped would be the war to end all wars. However, lingering resentments led to the rise of Nazi Germany and eventually World War II.
Celebrating 100 years of mateship and service alongside their American allies are representatives of the Australian Army. On July 4th, 1918, American and Australian forces first fought side by side in northern France during the First World War.
Since then, they've continued to serve together in every major conflict as allies and as friends. Today marks the first time the Australian Army has marched in Washington on Memorial Day, and they appreciate being able to join their American allies. Did you know that World War I is the only major war without a national memorial in our nation's capital? I did not know that until I spent the day here Saturday touring and discovered that. But our next float is from the organization charged to fix that. The World War I Centennial Commission is leading America's efforts to honor the 100th anniversary of the Great War and bring a national memorial to Washington, D.C.
And I am with this commission. The commission established by Congress is working to raise $40 million in private funds to build the memorial that you see depicted here on the float. This should be real. This should be something we can all go see. The memorial will be 60 feet long, 11 feet high, and set in Pershing Park near the White House. Perfect place. The float, entitled "They Deserve Their Own Memorial," encourages every American to donate today so that future generations of Americans will never forget the sacrifices of the Great War.
All right, let's check in once again with Dean Cain. Hello, Dean.
Hi, how are you guys? I'm happy to be here. I'm actually very, very honored right now to be standing here with the Chief of Staff of the Air Force, General David Goldfein, and the Commandant of the Coast Guard, and I'm going to try this, sir, Admiral Paul Zukunft. Zukunft. There we go. I knew I was going to mess that up. You're more easily called Admiral Z. I've heard that. All right, well, General Goldfein, my uncle was Air Force. He flew F-15s. He's buried at Arlington. I always have a special place in my heart for the Air Force, so I appreciate you, sir. Thank you very much. We have currently thousands of military personnel stationed around the world, many of them still in combat zones. So how can those of us here at home help support them, sir?
You know, for all the soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, you know, we live in the communities, active, our Air National Guard, reserves. And so first and foremost, I would just say, you know, taking care of those families, especially as much as we're deploying, is really helpful.
Yeah, we are deploying a lot, and the people forget that when you're serving, someone's out there serving, the entire family is serving. That's well thought out, sir. Okay, Admiral Z, I was in New Jersey yesterday. I met a couple of your coasties. They say really nice things about you, sir. So just so you know, your underlings they're in full support of you. So on behalf of our military, sir, what would you like to say to Americans watching at home this Memorial Day?
Well, today we honor the fallen. But we, as General Goldfein mentioned, need to honor the families of the fallen as well. We voluntarily serve, but our families, they don't get to volunteer. Our kids, they don't get to volunteer. They sign on because we've signed on. So I would remember our military families as well.
Very good words from two of our great, absolute wonderful patriots. It's back to you guys right now. I'm just honored to be in their company right now. It's kind of awesome.
Awesome. Thank you, Dean. The National Moment of Remembrance, established by Congress, asks all Americans, wherever they are, wherever you are right now, to pause in an act of national unity.
Right now, the National Memorial Day Parade will participate in that moment, coming to a complete stop while taps will be played in honor of all of those who have sacrificed their lives. Wherever you are, we ask that you please join us in this moment.
Anticipating that moment, coming to a complete stop, while taps will be played in honor of all of those who sacrificed their lives.
what saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now am found, was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear the hour I first believed.
Just prior to Amazing Grace, Taps was played by Sergeant First Class Matt Byrne from U.S. Army Band Pershing's Own.
And singing Amazing Grace was Staff Sergeant Chris Reddick, also from Pershing's Own. What a beautiful rendition. We'll be right back with more parade coverage from Washington, D.C.
So my son's name is Montarius Trey Daniel. Very lively young man, very smart, very sharp, kind of like the class clown. He took a liking to the Army. He'd met some great buddies. He had a huge impact. Trey took his life June of 2015, 2 days before his 20th birthday, actually. It was probably the most difficult summer I've ever had. I am still amazed by the impact that he had. You know, he could have a funeral service in Camp Bahrain and 400 people were there. And his funeral service in Georgia, I didn't even get a program because there were so many people there. I decided about a month ago just to celebrate his life. Freedom isn't free. Someone has to pay the price.
Next up from Washington, D.C., Nashville artist Cassidy Daniels performs And the Parade salutes America's greatest generation.
Wells Fargo, providing financial services to our country's military personnel since 1956. And the upcoming segment of our parade is brought to you by American Airlines.
We'd like to thank the Veterans United Home for your wonderful support of the Star Spangled Banner. Veterans United Home and the dedicated to providing these home guards and the nation's leading home guard education and service. Thank you so much.
Welcome back to our live coverage from Washington, D.C. You can visit the American Veterans Center on Facebook, also Twitter, to stay up to date throughout the year. I'm Sage Steele from ESPN.
And I'm Kira Phillips from ABC News. We are on Constitution Avenue for the National Memorial Day Parade. It's been fantastic thus far. Let's get back to the street. Now, here comes a living piece of American history, the Wells Fargo Stagecoach, with David Helmuth handling the ribbons. Before railroads crossed the nation, stagecoaches connected communities on the East Coast across to the West Coast.
So for over 160 years, Wells Fargo has helped diverse customers and communities succeed financially and get to where they needed to go.
And our next performer is one of Nashville's young up-and-comers who has shared the stage with Hunter Hayes, Trace Adkins, and the Marshall Tucker Band, along with rock icons like Quiet Riot.
That's our time.
That's right, and Lita Ford.
She's also the daughter of a soldier with the U.S. Army Special Forces. Her first song, Beautiful Day, it was dedicated to fighting positivity while her father was deployed to Iraq. Supported by the Coalition to Salute America's Heroes. Here to perform her latest song, Salute, is Cassidy Daniels.
The last day of summer was when Mama told them I'd be gone, and the plane came at the break of dawn too soon. Guardian of a small town with a heart of gold open now for the sake of the U.S. of A. Spend time on his knees, a volunteered refugee. When duty calls, it goes off like a bomb. I'll save a salute for you, my friend, a salute. I can't save my life through a dusty rearview mirror. In the end, I will wrap my wound in the red, white, and blue, and the homeland will salute.
Cassidy joining us now, a very special guest, Gold-starred families from Tuesday's Children. When families see trauma, Tuesday's Children see strength. And when families see grief, they see resilience. When families see loss, they see hope.
The next float comes to us from the Lions Club right here in Washington, D.C., Delaware, Maryland, and Virginia. This is their 10th year participating in our parade. Lions Club International is the world's largest service club organization with 1.4 million members worldwide.
And this year actually marks the 101st anniversary of Lions Clubs International, which was founded during the First World War. With so many lions serving in so many places, it's easy to understand the slogan, Where there's a need, there's a lion. And joining the Lions Club is the reigning Miss America for 2018, Kara Mund. Kara is an honors graduate of Brown University and the first woman from North Dakota to win the title of Miss America, which, by the way, Sage hosts every year.
Yes, love that with my friend Chris Harrison, and I will say being on that stage when she was crowned was phenomenal. You talk about appreciative and a difference maker. That's who Kara Mund is. She's currently touring the country, speaking to young women on civic engagement, and is the National Goodwill Ambassador for the Children's Miracle Networks hospitals.
The National Memorial Day Parade honors those who served in World War II. 16 million Americans served, and more than 400,000 died, making it truly the defining moment of the 20th century.
She sees you. Well, leading our tribute to the World War II generation, we are proud to welcome honorary Grand Marshals of today's parade, veterans of the legendary Tuskegee Airmen, the first African-American pilots in U.S. military history.
75 years ago, on June 2nd, 1943, the Tuskegee Airmen flew their first combat mission of the war. They'd go on to amass one of the most distinguished records in the U.S. Army Air Forces and have since become military legends and cultural icons, and I agree, and you can hear it from the crowd as well.
And they have been great interviews, let me tell you. All right, let's head back down to Constitution Avenue. Hi, Dean.
Hi, Kira. Well, I am completely honored right now to be standing next to these two gentlemen. Mom, I know you're at home watching. You see these Navy whites, and you're probably shedding a tear. With me right here, I'm being joined by the Vice Chief of Naval Operations, Admiral Bill Moran, and the latest recipient of the military's highest award for valor in Afghanistan, the Medal of Honor, retired Navy SEAL Britt Sablinski. I am so honored to be standing here with you two gentlemen. Master Chief, what does receiving the Medal of Honor mean to you, sir?
So receiving the Medal of Honor to me means it represents all that we are as Americans. It stands for those that have given all their tomorrows for us, but really, and it also stands for a reminder to those that wish us harm, that we are not afraid of you. That's what it means to me.
It's an honor to meet you, sir, and thank you so much for your service. Admiral Moran, we have a lot of Navy personnel stationed all around the world. What would be your message for them today, sir?
Well, I think like the message we've heard from everybody, including what Master Chief just said, and that is today is the day to remember those who've gone before us, who gave their lives in service to their country, gave their lives in service to their shipmates and Navy veterans around the world. Our point of serving, standing to watch forward, is to honor the legacy of those who've gone before us, and I know our young men and women out there are doing just that today.
And we appreciate them very, very much. Thank you out there, those who are serving. Kira, Sage, back to you guys.
Dean, thanks. It's the National Park Service with more than 100 years of caring for America's most treasured places and honoring those who have served and those who have fallen on behalf of our nation.
Here are our hardworking National Mall and Memorial Park staff, all of whom have proudly served in America's Armed Forces or are currently serving in the Guard and Reserves. And now here's a message from Acting Superintendent Patty Trapp.
Welcome to your National Mall and Memorial Parks. The National Park Service extends our thank you to all the men and women that have served our great country. Today, our float features 3 of the many cultural and historical sites in your nation's capital: the Washington Monument, the Lincoln Memorial, and the African American Civil War Memorial. Most importantly today, we salute and honor both present and former members of the armed forces who now help care for America's most special places.
Next up is the award-winning John F. Kennedy High School Marching Band and Color Guard from Sacramento, California.
Yeah, their Cougar Nation Marching Band and Color Guard represent the best of who they are and continually set the bar for performance excellence.
And today, U-Haul continues its support for our veterans and troops by showcasing the 5 branches of our armed services on the sides of the U-Haul trucks that you can see right there. Since 1945, committed to serving veterans and the communities that they have protected.
I've always loved that about these trucks. They want to remind the public about the true meaning of Memorial Day, to honor and remember all of the men and women who have given so selflessly for our freedom, and to honor the families they left behind.
And joining our tribute to the World War II generations, our original Rosie the Riveters, who supported the troops on the home front and who paved the way for greater participation by women like you and me in the workplace.
Yes, thank you. This year, our special guests include Eleanor Otto. She's from Long Beach, California, and she built airplanes from 1942 until retiring just a few years ago. She retired at age 95, earning the title of America's longest working Rosie. You go, girl.
I love it. And in 2010, the U.S. Congress voted unanimously for Spirit of 45 Day, a national day that honors the achievements and values of the men and women of the World War II generation. Oh, there's the kiss. There's the Life magazine kiss.
Oh, they're doing it again. Why not?
Hey, it's the famous Einstein picture
You
that
have to.
changed the way we looked. I tell you what, at men and women coming back from war. Right in the middle of the street of New York, that kiss happened.
Beautiful.
I bet. I'm wondering who's enjoying this more. He's like,
oh gosh. Our next float commemorates that spirit, welcoming surviving veterans of the Second World War. Among the veterans joining us are Sig Alman, a shipmate of future President Gerald Ford, and Frank Cohn, a Jewish refugee from Germany who returned to fight with the U.S. Army. A special thank you to these veterans and our entire greatest generation. Keep the Spirit of 45 Alive is a national nonprofit coalition whose mission is to promote awareness and participation in Spirit of 45 Days so that the example of our greatest generation will continue to inspire future generations of Americans, especially the youth of our nation.
We'll be right back with more Parade right after this.
Hi everybody, this is Toby Keith. To all who have served and are serving, most especially those who've lost a loved one in service to our country, we're thinking about you this Memorial Day. It's been my honor to meet so many of you over the years, and I can't thank you enough for your service and sacrifice.
Hey everybody, this is Chris Stapleton. I want to send this message out to all of our armed services members, our veterans that have served in the past, and the military families around the world, and say thank you for all of your sacrifices and everything that you do to keep us safe.
Hey y'all, Dirk Bentley here. Just want to send a message out to all the servicemen and women around the country, around the world that might be watching this, and just to say thank you guys so much for doing what you do. I love each and every one of you. I have so much respect for y'all. Appreciate the sacrifice that you guys are making for us, that your families are making for the rest of us. You know, just 1% of y'all are out there doing this for all of us. So God bless you guys. Thank you so much, and hope you have a great Memorial Day.
Coming up, we honor the fallen of the Korean and Vietnam Wars. And Trace Adkins returns for a special encore performance.
One of the highlights of today was the young Americans and the tremendous atmosphere on our plane in Paris. And we have everybody at job. They are responsible for helping us get these two young American girls move on the Memorial Day parade. And thank you to that lot. Supporting the U.S. military and American manufacturing. You can see everything you need to know on the website by going to the website at maglife.com.
Great news for young people eyes on that cruise and the trip. You arrive and get to see that beautiful American trip.
Welcome back, everyone, to our nation's capital, Washington, D.C.
And now let's continue with more of our amazing parade.
More than 36,000 Americans died during service in the Korean War, often called the Forgotten War. Today, veterans refer to Korea as the Forgotten Victory, following the economic success of South Korea.
Leading our tribute to the Korean War generation are veterans representing the Korean War Veterans Association. Coming in the years after World War II, the Korean War was once known as the Forgotten War, as veterans did not receive the attention or acclaim given their comrades of the Second World War. We are truly honored to have them here with us today.
And their float is made possible with support from veterans in defense of liberty. In addition to our Korean War veterans, the float honors those from the Revolution to the present who sacrificed their lives to preserve our liberty. And more than 36,000 Americans were killed in the Korean War, which began when North Korean forces invaded the South June 25, 1950. As of today, there are still 7,704 Americans still missing in action. Though open hostilities ended with an armistice in 1953, no peace treaty was signed, and technically the war has not ended. Today, we have with us 30 Korean War vets who have traveled from all over the United States to be with us here today.
Wow. Their mission
They're
is
honking.
to ensure, I love it, mission is to ensure that the legacy of the Korean War generation is not forgotten. Joining our Korean War veterans are Korean American veterans who fought for their country during the war, but since then have immigrated to the United States of America. Okay, take a look at this horse. This horse represents Sergeant Reckless, America's greatest war horse and a Korean War hero. She's wearing a blanket like the one worn by Sergeant Reckless when she arrived back home in America in 1954, complete with her ribbons. She is led by retired veteran Lieutenant Colonel James Schaefer.
Sergeant Reckless carried ammunition during the Korean War. In one battle, she made 51 trips to the guns, carried over 9,000 pounds of ammo, and walked more than 35 miles through heavy artillery fire.
What a sweetheart.
Now please welcome the award-winning Southwest High School Band from San Antonio, Texas.
And I am the SAC Section Leader, Emerald Ledesma.
We are proud and honored to be marching in the Korean War segment of the parade today. Washington, D.C. is home to the National Korean War Veterans Memorial.
The memorial is quite unique and features 19 stainless steel statues of soldiers on patrol. The memorial opened on July 27, 1995. We salute the heroes who served in the Korean War.
$58,318 names of Americans lost in service are etched into the black granite walls of the Vietnam Veterans Memorial. Nearly 6 million visitors pay their respects at the memorial each year.
Now, the North Carolina Vietnam Helicopter Pilots Association, founded in 1989. Here in the parade route today, helicopters from the Vietnam era. All the members of the association were pilots and flew helos in Vietnam. Combined, these pilots have more than 20,000 combat hours.
Helicopters have been brought to over 200,000 students in schools around the country to teach them about the history of Americans who served in Vietnam.
And representing the heroes of Vietnam, please welcome Brigadier General R. Steve Ritchie.
General Ritchie is the only Air Force ace pilot of the Vietnam War, shooting down 5 enemy jets. He's the recipient of numerous awards, including the Air Force Cross, which is second only to the Medal of Honor.
And as we commemorate the continued 50th anniversary of the Vietnam War, we present our next float featuring decorated veterans of Vietnam. 2.7 million Americans served in Vietnam between 1960 and the end of direct U.S. involvement in 1973. More than 58,000 of our heroes did not come home. 61% of those killed were under the age of 21.
And those veterans who did come home, they were never greeted with the welcomes or the parades they so richly deserved. To our Vietnam veterans who may be watching today, thank you. Thank you for your service, and welcome home.
Let's head back to Constitution Avenue. Hi, Dean.
Thank you very much, Kira. I have the honor standing here right now with the Vice Chief of Staff of the Army, General James McConville. How are you, sir?
Great day.
It is a great day. So what can folks at home do to support the families of our fallen heroes, sir?
On Memorial Day, this is a very important day because we remember, we honor, we pay tribute to those who have given it all.
And so many have, and we thank all of those at home for the freedoms that we can enjoy today. It's an honor to meet you, sir. Thank you very much. And in the true spirit of Memorial Day, we're also honored to have us right now the family of the fallen hero, Kevin Jermaine Wilson. And we're joined by his widow, Ann, and his 2 children, Arabella and Caden, who I had a chance to talk with earlier. And please share with us your memory of Kevin and his service.
Kevin was very proud to serve. He was proud to teach the people coming up under him everything he learned, and was just proud to be able to serve and give back to his country and protect his country. And it just really meant a lot to him to serve our country.
Well, we thank Kevin and we thank you guys so much. And I have to ask this of you right here, Caden. What does it mean to be here today in your father's honor?
It means a lot to be here with TABS because they have something called Good Grief Camp for some of the kids, and they'll normally give you a mentor that really knows what you're going through, and you can meet other kids and make other friends that know what you're going through too.
Well, we thank you guys so much. We thank you very much. In general, thank you so much, sir. It's a pleasure. And right now, we're gonna be back for some more parade coverage, but after this. But first, we present a message from Robert Agostinelli. He's the chairman of the Friends of the National Memorial Day Parade.
My fellow citizens, on this day, we are humbled to honor all those who have served the Republic in the defense of freedom. From Valley Forge, Iraq, and Afghanistan, our valiant troops have stood tall. The United States is indeed an exceptional nation, and our military, the purest and bravest of us all. President Kennedy once said, "A nation reveals itself not only by the men it produces, but also by the men it honors." Today we honor and remember the best this nation has ever produced, our heroes who have sacrificed all to defend freedom. God bless them all, and thank you.
Coming up from Washington, D.C., a very special salute to the heroes of the Gulf War, Operation Desert Storm.
Day Parade. Brought to you by American Airlines. American Airlines and the National Memorial Day Parade. We also want to thank Leroy. These National Security also respect the company. This is one of the sponsors. It's providing us with more than 1,000 active military personnel that are part of today's parade. Now, we have a section of our parade brought to you by the National Board.
Welcome back to Washington, D.C. in the 2018 National Memorial Day Parade. I'm Sage Steele from ESPN.
And I'm Kara Phillips with ABC News. It's so great to be here. And now, performing his recently released song, Still a Soldier, once again, please welcome back Mr. Trace Adkins.
He's got a corner lot on Dogwood Drive. A year-old truck and a 9-to-5. Comes home at night to a pretty wife with a baby due. He'll sleep in on Saturday, cut the grass if it don't rain. After church, he'll watch the game and have a beer or two. And he'll stand up when he hears the anthem, and that won't ever change. 'Cause he's still a soldier, his blood runs red, white, and blue. He's put away his gun and boots, but he still believes the American dream. To his last breath, he'll always be a soldier. He don't wake up anymore when he hears thunder. Oh, but even if he lives to be 100, he'll still be a soldier. He's still a soldier. He's put away his gun and boots, but he still believes the American dream. For his last breath, he'll always be a soldier. He's still a soldier. He's still a soldier.
Thank you once again, Trace Adkins. All right, we have been waiting all day for this. Here comes the famous Big Idaho Potato Truck. The Truck and Tater team is on its 7th national tour, spreading the word about Idaho potatoes and working with local charities through their A Big Helping program.
I wish they would bring some tater tots over
need
here.
to bring some over.
Riding on the truck are members of Chapter 11 of the Special Forces Association, which serves as the voice for the Special Forces community in the national capital area. All right, and here is the Olathe Northwest Marching Band, now proud to join us this year in the parade from the state of Kansas.
Hello, I'm Trevor Adams. And I'm Brady Stanfield. We are marching the Gulf War segment of the parade today, and we extend our honor and thanks to those men and women who served in Operation Desert Storm.
The Gulf War was among the first conflicts in history to play out on live broadcast television. 294 Americans gave their lives in the liberation of Kuwait in 1991.
The National Memorial Day Parade
The
salutes
Gulf War,
those who
known
served
as
in the Gulf
Operation
War.
Desert Storm,
Operation Desert
brought together the largest coalition of countries since World War II. It proved the most decisive victory in modern warfare.
Storm War Memorial Association is marching a group of more than 200 veterans who were active duty during Operation Desert Shield and Operation Desert Storm. The Gulf War, which was the successful liberation of the state of Kuwait in 1991, was the result of a coalition of 34 nations under the leadership of President George H.W. Bush and General Norman Schwarzkopf.
The memorial is projected to be completed by 2021, marking the 30th anniversary of the war, and is in the site selection phase in Washington, D.C.
Stay with us. We will be back with more of our parade coverage from Washington, D.C. right after this.
Coming up, the parade's grand finale. Hundreds of uniformed troops in tribute to those who have sacrificed on the front lines today.
And now, look at these beautiful rides. Ladies and gentlemen, look at these Mustangs. Wow.
welcome you back to the National Memorial Day Parade.
Perfect song to come back to.
Awesome.
Our parade timeline actually concludes as we honor those serving and sacrificing on the front lines today.
The Massachusetts Maritime Academy's Regimental Band, Honor Guard, and Drill Team. The pride of the regiment provides music, military customs, and tradition to enhance the regiment of cadets' cohesion and morale.
Their mission, leadership, discipline, knowledge through music, drill, and ceremony performance at public and academy venues to recruit, retain, and inspire the regiment of cadets.
$1.3 million Americans serve in our military today. Since 9/11, almost 7,000 have made the ultimate sacrifice. Today's military continues a tradition of honor and excellence seen throughout our country's history.
And now for the parade's grand finale, led by active duty service personnel from the U.S. Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine Corps, and Coast Guard. Also joining is the Public Health Service Commission Corps, one of our uniformed services, which was founded in 1889.
In recent years, they've deployed to provide aid to Ebola victims in Africa, earthquake victims in Haiti, and hurricane victims in the Caribbean.
We are especially proud and honored to welcome home many of these troops who have just recently returned from deployment overseas.
Stay with us. We only have about 9 minutes left. We'll be right back.
We'll be back for more parade from Constitution Avenue in Washington, D.C.
Well, thank you all for being here today. Thank you very much. We'd like to thank all the veterans, the parade marchers, and the volunteers. Special thank you to the American Veterans Center and all of our great sponsors. It's been a most amazing day. It was such an inspirational story. I'm honored to be here with you and with you, my dear friend Mark. Well, thank you, my dear. And to those of you serving in harm's way, stay safe, and thank you for your service. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you back here again next year on Constitution Avenue. Goodbye, everyone.
The 2018 National Memorial Day Parade is brought to you by the American Veterans Center, guarding the legacy and honoring the sacrifice of our veterans. For more information, visit AmericanVeteransCenter.org.
Well, thank you all for watching today. We'd like to thank all the vets, the parade marchers, the volunteers. Also, my daughter handed me World War Veterans Committee handing out flags in honor of men and women who've served.
Wonderful. We also want to thank the American Veterans Center and all of the sponsors, so many. And we got to thank Dean Cain as well. Dean?
Thank you. It's been an incredible day with so many unbelievable and inspirational stories. I have been so humbled and honored to be here, so thank you. So happy to be here. Hopefully I'll be here next year. Back to you guys.
Great having you here, Dean, as well as Gary Sinise. And to those of you serving in harm's way, please stay safe. Thank you for your service. Our prayers are with you.
See you next year back here on Constitution Avenue. Goodbye, everyone.